Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for coming back over to the five pack. Time to talk a little NFL. We are moving into the next round of the playoffs. And for the first time ever, the Cleveland Browns are there. It's rare, but your team is alive. And I'm giving you guys an outside chance to win it this weekend. So I'm sure you are just stoked to see this one.
Man, I'm really hyped. We get to go into Kansas City and play the best team in football. No matter what happens, it seems like we're playing with house money. I think the Browns have every opportunity to keep this game close, and I am extremely excited for Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern.
I think we can all agree they're the best team in football, the Kansas City Chiefs, right? No question about it. Best team in football. They're champions. They went 14-2, but they won all the games that mattered early in the year and everything like that. However, there is no team that has been less lackluster as far as like the quality of what they've had to do. They haven't had important games. I mean, if there was time to sneak up on them, this is the weekend. They're still the best team in football, but the best team doesn't win every single game. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for you to actually have something to root for during the playoffs this year. It's got to be a great feeling.
You're right about that point. It does seem like if there was an opportunity to sneak up on them, even though, like, again, they've heard all the chatter that they, haven't played, meaningful football in a while. It's this weekend, right? Because if they win this weekend, then next weekend, they'll have already won a meaningful game by beating the Browns here. So I'm with that point. All that needs to happen is maybe they're a little lackluster in the first half. The Browns can just stay in this game. I'll be happy.
Yeah, no kidding, guys. All right, let's talk a little DFS. So, guys, as far as what we're looking to do right now, anybody that purchases his day pass on Saturday, which is either today if you're watching this on Saturday or tomorrow if you're watching it on Friday, you'll get both NBA and NFL. It's all done through the website. Subscribe to the station if you're new to it. Let's just run through the plays real quick. We're going to bounce around a little bit more than usual this week. Usually we kind of have a strict formula. It's quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Go through in that order, but we're going to bounce a little bit more. We're not going to cover a quarterback this week. I think most of you guys know who the chalk QB is going to be. We're going to start at receiver. We're going to start with the cover boy, who is more your guy than mine, but I do like him this week. And what I mean by that is you've been on him a lot this year when I haven't liked him. I like him this week. I'm with you wholeheartedly on this one. This is a dome game for Michael Thomas and the Saints. And what we know about Tampa Bay is their pass defense has been, it's not been great. Their run defense, however, elite, which leads me to believe that a team like the Saints are going to have to go a little pass heavy on this one. Thomas looked the part in the first half last week. He was disappointing if you played him based on how his first half went, but it wasn't his fault that the Chicago Bears offense is terrible and didn't score, and they literally didn't have to throw him the second half because he was playing really well early.
Yeah, like you said, he looked the part. He looked like the guy that we're used to seeing last year, arguably a lot of people's number one receiver in football. Nothing's changed. I feel like the Saints, and I said this last week, I thought the Saints might roll there. They're on a mission here. They know that they've kind of been bounced. Well, not kind of. They've been bounced the past 2 years in the playoffs against teams they should not have lost to. I think this game sets up to be a game for the ages, man. You got Brady versus Breeze. I think both teams are going to have to score here. You mentioned how good Tampa is against the run. Well, the extension of the Saints' run game is Breeze to Thomas in a lot of ways. PPR monster, still very affordable at 6,700. I like him in all formats. I mean, I just think he looks really good here as a guy that is going to be involved based on any game script. It's unlikely to see New Orleans doing to Tampa what they did to Chicago last week. A lot to like here.
Well, if New Orleans rolls on Tampa this week like they did throughout the regular season, like that's still fine because you want to know what? Thomas had to get there somehow. They had to get that offense somehow. Like they're not going to give up. Like, let's face it. Like I'm kind of a Tom Brady truther or a hater, or whatever you want to call it. But the dude's made some monster comebacks in his life. So, like, you got to be up a lot of points to just not throwing the ball. And that means they probably scored 4 times already, which means Thomas probably grabbing one of those. So they need to put up touchdowns.
The difference, like being up 2 scores against the Bears is a lot different than being up 2 scores against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I got a hot question for you. Who's better, Tom Brady or Mitch Trubisky?
Brady. I had no joke to say there or anything that would have been funny. Just Brady.
That's the easiest question you'll get talking sports probably ever. There is literally nothing Mitch Trubisky could do for the rest of his career besides win every single Super Bowl for the next 10 years to put him above Tom Brady. And I will bet every dollar that I have that everybody in the state of Wisconsin has. That ain't happening.
Same.
All right, next up, let's move down the receiver list. Well, up or down, however you want to look at it, since Tyreek Hill is going to be more expensive than Michael Thomas. But for me, this is a guy that I struggle to take out of my lineups this week. I think by now, most people who look at the point projections that have watched these teams play throughout the year, no matter how you're evaluating it, on paper, the best game for offense is Cleveland, Kansas City. There's none of these games have bad weather this weekend, and by January standards, right? It's not supposed to be like annoyingly crappy in Kansas City or anything like that. Your Browns can score. They can also give up points. So I love this game for offense. I think the masses love this game for offense. Tyreek Hill is a priority for me. He's had cash game consistency. We know the GPP upside is there because this guy can literally hit you for 2 80-yard touchdowns in the same game, and you wouldn't even look twice. There's a million different ways to afford his $8,000 salary. He's a bigger priority for me than Patrick Mahomes this weekend, if you want to put that one out there. He's got monster upside. He's got great consistency. He's healthy again. I have a ton of interest in Tyreek Hill, who's literally scored in almost every single game this year.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference for a guy like him and Mahomes is that there are scenarios in which Cleveland controls the ball and limits the Kansas City possessions. That obviously hurts Hill, and obviously you'd rather Kansas City have the ball the entire time. But like you mentioned, Tyreek Hill is a guy that it's easy to see him taking 2 80-yard touches to the house. He's not a guy that, you use generally because he's going to get 20 targets, even though this year has been a little bit different for that. Man, he's got the upside. He's got the floor. One of the top overall plays on the slate. He's expensive, so you have to prioritize him. But in, again, the best offensive game on the slate, he looks real good here. Very, very risky fade.
Yes, definitely. He's got a running mate as well that I think most of you guys know who he is. So speaking of this game, we're going to flip it around. I have no shame riding this game very heavy. Browns, Chiefs. I think I made a statement yesterday when we were doing our members only video that if I ran 9 GPP entries this weekend, in most of them, about 50% of my exposure to players would be from this game. And Kareem Hunt is one of those guys. So there's a few things to like about him right here. And let's start with the obvious one, which is the price tag. Now, we know that Nick Chubb is the man for your Cleveland Browns. That's not going to change this week, right? He's still one of the best running backs in football. He gets the lion's share of the touches at the running back position. He is, however, more expensive. And despite the fact that Chubb was the higher point total getter in the passing game last week, that is not the usual way of things break down for Kareem Hunt. In the event, and especially if you believe Kansas City rolls here, then you probably like Hunt more than Nick Chubb, maybe even at the same price. Because in that situation, if Kansas City gets up 21-3, all of a sudden Kareem Hunt probably on the field more than Nick Chubb. You think there's every opportunity it could work out the same way as last week, where Chubb does the dirty work, Hunt falls in the end zone twice, or at least once. He's at 4,800 for a high offense game, and he's going to get double-digit touches.
Yeah, I'm a huge Kareem Hunt fan. Chubb is the 1 to Kareem Hunt's, 1B. He's the 1A to Kareem Hunt's 1B. But, man, I still think that both these guys are arguably top 5 running backs in football. You're getting what I think is arguably a top 5 running back in football, under 5K. I mean, just that alone gives me interest. Kareem Hunt going back to Kansas City for the first time. Remember, he was an integral part of this team a couple years ago. Didn't get a chance to win a Super Bowl with them. Got the boot. Now is a proud member of the Browns. Everything about Kareem Hunt in this spot gets me so excited. I love the cut of his jib. If I need 1 yard, 3rd and 1, I need 1 yard. There's no one I'd rather have in football. I think he definitely scores at least once here, involved in the passing game. God, I can't wait for this game, man.
I'm laughing on the inside right now. Did you happen to come across, I can't remember if I saw it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and it was Kareem Hunt talking about going back to Kansas City.
Oh, yeah, the Kareem donut.
Yes, exactly. Like Andy Reid. I didn't know who you were when we drafted you. I didn't want to cut you. I thought you were a donut.
Yeah, I saw that. And I was dying. I sent that to all my buddies here. We got a kick out of it.
Yeah, I was laughing so hard. I love all the Andy Reid fat jokes. They crack me up every single time.
One of my buddies texted back, that can't really be Andy Reid, is it? Because, it looked official
No.
From his account. Of course not. No.
All the Andy Reid memes last year when they were winning the Super Bowl about how laying out all the McDonald's for him and stuff like that, about how excited he was just to eat. I don't know. It had me practically pissing my pants. I thought they were so funny. All right, let's keep moving on. Another running back. Let's talk about another guy who I see a lot like Kareem Hunt from last week. Gus Edwards of the Baltimore Ravens. So this is going to be more under the GPP long shot type of game format, because I think there are other sub 5K running backs, i.e. Kareem Hunt, that might be a little more likely to get success. However, Gus Edwards is a part of the Baltimore Ravens plan. Mark Ingram was inactive last week. They activated Justice Hill in case they needed to go pass heavy. You saw that in third alongs, Justice Hill would come in. But Dobbins, he outsnapped Edwards and outcarried him, but it wasn't by a drastic measure. Now, Dobbins is the better player. And ultimately, I would love to get Dobbins into my lineup this week, but Gus Edwards is significantly less expensive. And he does get on the field for about 40% of the running play, so he still has a role. What I could see happening in this game is Baltimore, who got off to a bad start last week, but got that monkey off their back, comes in, plays a little bit better this week. Maybe they get up and they get to go a little bit more run heavy. And then we get back to one of my favorite things about talking about DFS and sports in general, which is styles make fights. I was listening to it this morning talking about this game. I agree with it. I know Baltimore's getting a lot of love now this week, but this is a bad matchup for the Buffalo Bills. I'm not saying they can't win this game. It's just that what they are worst at is stopping the run. Well, what do the Baltimore Ravens do better than anybody in the NFL? They run the football. In a game that might have some snow, and a lot of times that will favor the offense. If you got to make one cut, that is an advantage to the offensive player. I think Gus Edwards at 4,200, like Kareem Hunt last week, you can see Dobbins do the dirty work. They alternate running backs really, really quick on Baltimore. Like Dobbins could have 3 plays offensively, and then Edwards comes in. And if those time him out right and he gets into the end zone, I could see Gus Edwards with 11 carries, 50 yards, and 2 touchdowns kind of quietly coming out of nowhere.
There's also a lot of leverage in that for people that are going to use Lamar Jackson and, like you mentioned, Dobbins. I mean, I think you can use I think you can use a couple of those guys together based on the story you're saying that, Baltimore gets up in this game, they pound the ball. We also know Baltimore's defense is good. So, yeah, Buffalo's been impressive on offense, but I'm not going to be surprised if they struggle a little bit here, which would set up just even better for Edwards. I like this call a lot at close to 4K, basically unowned, rock solid.
Yeah, I do like that. I didn't even think about the point about the leverage about guys playing Dobbins and Lamar Jackson in this situation. So coming into the playoffs, I had Buffalo as not like my dark horse, but I thought that they were the top competition to Kansas City. And I still agree that in a game against the Chiefs, I like Buffalo more than I do like Baltimore. However, I think the worst matchup for Buffalo is the Baltimore Ravens. Their deficiencies are the best efficiency portion of the Baltimore Ravens. And I do think the Ravens are going to win this game. And I would pick Buffalo against pretty much every other team in football that's not my Green Bay Packers. And I think it would be a tough game with the Chiefs, but I don't like the matchup for them with the Ravens. I think they're going to get this one.
So you think the Packers would beat the Bills, but you think the Bills.
Well, I'm going to pick the Packers against everyone. Okay, yeah, I'm a homer. Okay,
I just wanted to know if that was a homer pick or not. Okay, just making sure.
I'm going to pick the Green Bay Packers in a game of basketball to beat the Lakers right now because I just got to roll with my team at this point of it. I just don't like for the Buffalo Bills, who I think are 1 year away from being like the team. I think this is a bad spot for them. I think the Ravens got the monkey off their back last week. I think the Ravens, who was everybody's it team last year, including me, faltered against the Titans, get this dub right here. And then next year, I love the Bills to come out of the AFC.
What I wouldn't give for a Ravens-Browns AFC title game.
I was thinking about that.
Wait, on that note, though, because I also know you've said like Cleveland is a year away, and I don't agree with that. I mean, multiple teams can be a year away. Who's better next year, Buffalo or Cleveland? Sounds like you think Buffalo, but who do you think's better?
I mean, the Buffalo, if you look at the advanced offensive stats, is the best offensive team in football this year. I think they could get even better. The strides that Allen has made from 1 to 2 to 3 are amazing. Like, I don't know how much better he could get, but I like Buffalo even more going into next season. I think this is the year for them to get that extra playoff experience. They won the game last week. I think they lose this one, coming even hungrier next year. And like before the season even starts and we go through free agency and everything, I love Buffalo next season.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll remember that. So when they suck, I'll have you.
Josh Allen's that dude, man. I just think he needs one more season. All right, man. So let's go back to this Cleveland versus Kansas City game, and let's talk about the tight end position. I think everybody knows Travis Kelce's going to get a ton of love. Why? Because he is like the best tight end in football. He's the best tight end on the slate. He costs twice as much as everybody else for a reason. He's been as reliable as you can ask for. Everybody knows it's a great game for offense. I love the pivot to a less popular Austin Hooper in this game. Not because I think Hooper outscores Kelce, but just specifically because he's like half his price. And I know something that I say and you say both all the time, play both of them if you want to. A point that you made in the members only video, Austin Hooper is less expensive than the Gus Edwards and the Singletaries and the Kareem Hunts of the world. So why would you struggle to put him in your flex position?
Yeah, he's less expensive than all those guys with the RB position, having a 4K minimum. Hooper looks really good here at 3,800. Double digits, 13 plus and 4 straight. I mean, anytime you got a guy under 4K with 13 plus and 4 straight, that's rock solid. He's developed a really nice rapport with Baker. We talk about next year, a guy that I will like a lot in fantasy drafts, obviously presuming not a ton changes, is Austin Hooper. A year into the system, he's got more experience with Baker Mayfield. He looks like Baker's security blanket right now. He's a play action guy. I love the idea of playing both. I mean, Kelce is a stud among studs. You know how I feel about Kelce. He's one of the top plays on any slate he's on. However, if you want the Tyreek Hills and the Michael Thomases and the Alvin Kamaras, you can't play them all. So Hooper's another tight end firmly in play. I think playing both of them is wildly a look, especially at Hooper's cheap price point. Side note, I'm trying to think about it, and I know like George Kittle's there, but like I can't think of a bigger discrepancy between Kelce and the next tight end in like any other position in any other sport.
Well, are you not counting George Kittle, who was a?
Yes.
You're talking like basically the guy that's third and lower.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't have anybody off the top of my head that I can really argue with that position at all, because I mean, like, just think about quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they're closer than we want to think about, probably.
Definitely. I mean, in any sport, Kelce and Kittle are really like wide receivers. I mean, they do it all. Those are two premier guys.
I will say I've been making the argument for Kittle.
Yeah. Have you changed?
For a while. I still think he's just as good because he's a great run blocker, and I like that. But one of the things that we talked about in a video like a month ago, as far as Travis Kelce, and you'll probably get there as soon as I make a couple more words, is the best ability in sports is availability. Kittle's had some injury issues. Travis Kelce, just doesn't miss time. Like, he's missed, 8 games in his career, just some unfathomably low number. He's always out there. It's such an important thing. Like, I like Jusuf Nurkic, but now the dude's, hurt again, right? Like, some guys have struggled to stay on the field. Now, I was actually listening to a guy on the Joe Rogan podcast the other day talk about, guys who get injured a lot. They did a sleep study on people who just are not good sleepers and the way that the body reacts after not getting sleep. And it really made me start to wonder, guys in pro sports who get hurt all the time, are they typically bad sleepers because of the way their body reacts? And there was a really cool correlation. It really made me think about why some guys get hurt all the time and others don't. Is it just bad luck? Are you just more brittle? What are the reasons behind that?
Yeah, that is interesting. I would love to know more about that. So that is very interesting.
Well, it's a question we've always kind of asked. It's probably a collection of all those things.
And it's probably one of those questions, well, at least now, where we'll never know the answer to, because injuries are so circumstantial, right? And it's impossible to know if you were in the same circumstances as me. If I tore my ACL, it's impossible to know if you were in that exact situation. If you know what I'm saying? It's great to talk about. I got so excited and knocked some stuff off my desk.
Yeah, and it's a small sample size too, because most of these guys' careers are, 2 decades is as long as you're going, right? So if you have a couple of year-long injuries, if you played somebody's career out over 100 years, would a guy like LeBron James, who has been as bulletproof as they come, right, would it be different if he played another 20 years? Would he break a leg?
What if he missed the year? What if he got severe? Because also all it takes is one really bad injury. And that I feel like that can happen to anyone. Once that happens to you, then you start favoring other stuff. So yeah, it's fascinating to think about that stuff for sure.
Right. So I went into the chiropractor 5 years ago for lower back issues, and he was telling me, because he saw he asked about injury history I had, and I broke my ankle on September 11th, 2001 of all days. And he's like, you 10 years later overcompensate on that ankle, which then causes this portion of your back more than likely is the answer. And I'm like, that's so crazy to think about that. And then, like you said, a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, and he's had all these injuries tally up, and it's just a cool conversation.
It really is. So,
thanks, all right, guys. Thanks for watching. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.